Ready? Yep. Welcome to this Killick Explains Finance video. This week I want to take on a hardy perennial topic, which is how to avoid banking fraud. I want to focus on banking fraud in particular because that is becoming a bigger and bigger issue for more people. So what is it and what are the practical steps you can take to reduce the chances of being affected by it? So the background would be what? It won't happen to me. Some of the most dangerous words when it comes to running your finances, because it does actually happen to a lot of people. What, we'll look at in a moment. Nearly 80,000 account holders lost £350 million to banking fraud in 2018, according to some fairly reliable sources. So that's an awful lot of people who probably thought, I am not stupid enough to fall for banking fraud, I'm on it, I'm alert, and yet did. So why, and what can you do to avoid joining them? Some practical health checks, if you like, on the way you run your banking finances. Now, the compensation challenge. So a lot of people might be thinking, well, if I do lose money, surely there is a scheme set up that will compensate me if that happens. Not correct. I mean, the Financial Services Compensation Scheme is there if a bank goes bust, for example, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you being defrauded. Now, yes, most banks will eventually get round to compensating you on the basis that it's probably not your fault. I won't go into the legal niceties of that one. But the industry compensation regime, insofar as there is anything there, is pretty patchy. Large banks' proposal for a central fund, funded on a kind of per trade basis, if you like, for no-blame victims, hasn't been popular with challengers. Why not? Well, the challenger banks have kind of said, well, we've got the latest high-specification security measures in place. You lot haven't, so we're not subsidising your old systems, all right, because we don't need to. So that's an ongoing debate, if you like. Therefore, yes, you'll probably get your money back eventually, but it's stressful to lose it in the first place, and it can take a lot of time and a lot of hassle, a lot of processing, a lot of chasing of emails and phone calls and so on to eventually persuade the bank to put money back into your account, which they will probably eventually do. So, how does fraud happen? Better to understand how it happens, try and take steps to stop you becoming a victim in the first place. So there are lots of ways it can happen, so I'm going to give you some examples here. And this is not an exhaustive list, some of the main ones. Request to transfer money, especially out of normal hours and or urgently. So beware, any email professing to be from your bank, for example, received at 2 in the morning, you don't recognise the URL, it goes on for ages, doesn't look anything like a Lloyd's or a Barclays URL, and it's saying, urgent, money requested. All right, now, you might say, well, I'd never fall for that, but people do seem to. Non-existent renewal reminders. Now, I've had loads of these, Sky, Amazon, Netflix. You've forgotten to renew your annual subscription, which doesn't exist, by the way. Or even if it does exist, it's not come from the service provider. So quickly, input all your bank details here, crack on, or we'll cut you off, some terrible thing will happen. Watch out for those. Bogus refunds, that's a big one from HMRC. Or utility companies or service providers. This is HMRC saying, amazing, we owe you some money. In order to pay it to you, we need your bank details. Just pop them into this email and Bob's your uncle, if you like. Be wary of those. It's tempting. You think, oh, crikey, I've paid so much tax. Now they're giving me something back. It's the free lunchtime, and that is one to avoid. Utility companies, service providers, anyone basically masking themselves as something they're not, coming up with a plausible reason why you should give your bank details and personal details so they can pay you some money. Watch out for those. Then, failed transaction notifications from retailers. That will hit you hard around things like January sales times, for example. Bit of a shame, you bought something in store, we had a bit of a problem, technical problem, so if you wouldn't mind just re-inputting your card, bank details again, everything will be well. Watch out for that one. Unauthorized remote access requests to your computer. Okay, so if you work at work, for example, like here, yes, the IT team can get onto your computer, that's fine, they're authorized, but watch out for people asking for access to your computer who have no valid reason to need it. And finally, slightly more physical, if you like, cash point fraud and data mining. Data mining includes people who get hold of your supposedly recycling bags, find out that you're binning lots of stuff that you shouldn't, unsecurely if you like, and pull together a picture of information about you, which they can later use to defraud you. So be careful, this can be a slow burn. People building a picture, using social media, using stuff you've thrown away without shredding, and eventually they hit the bullseye in terms of having enough information to cause trouble. So what can you do? Practical steps. None of these are rocket science, but more of us should be doing them. So Number one, never provide, obvious point, passwords and or PIN codes, all right? Make sure that personal details are not given to someone you don't know or have not verified the identification of, right? So just don't hand out willy-nilly your address, bank details, even who you bank with, let alone PIN codes and so on. And don't open suspicious links, all right? You can report any suspicious links that come from your account to social media firms such as Facebook, for example, and then they'll get disabled and dealt with, but don't open suspicious links. So in other words, if you receive a link from someone you've not heard of for a long time by email saying, oh, open this, probably don't. You know, contact them first, say, did you mean to send it? And the answer may well be, no, I didn't. Minimise physical statements. So in this day and age, it's environmentally friendly not to request physical statements mailed out to your house all the time, and it's also slightly more secure. Why not just view them online, for example? Shred documents that contain personal details. Don't put into the recycling bin lots and lots of letters and so on that have got personal details on them, bank statements, addresses and all that good stuff. Try and shred them. It is more secure. And keep login detail security questions and passwords secure, and do review your passwords from time to time. That brings me on to the final bit of this presentation, which is the online stuff specifically. So there's some general practical steps. So online security. Now, we could spend a whole video on this, but here are some top tips from me. Make sure online passwords are sufficiently complex and don't overlap. So when you're putting passwords in, they will tell you normally, is it weak, is it medium, is it strong? Aim for strong. I know it's annoying, you can have flat exclamation marks, use capital letters, numbers, but it is ultimately more secure. Store them securely and consider sharing with a professional. As you get older, for example, if you think, oh crikey, I'm never going to remember all this, let alone how often I should be updating all this stuff, you could consider sharing it with someone you trust, and that may include a professional who holds that information on your behalf. And finally, it does get a bit bamboozling, it does get a bit baffling. You've got maybe lots and lots of different accounts, lots of different passwords, security questions to be answered, user IDs and so on. You can enlist the help of a password management service. So it is possible to, I think, with a master password, if you like, and that is one way to get around the problem of how on earth am I going to ever remember all of this stuff. Okay, to find out more on what is a vast topic, the usual email address, editor@killick.com. And if you'd like to watch videos on other aspects of fraud, I've done them on pensions, for example, in the past, killick.com/learn. There's a tab down here, and you want to have a look in the investing principles section.